Lariusik hastened after him. The light shone brightly in Nikolka's room. A stream of cold air was coming through the open upper pane, and there was a gaping hole in the lower casement which Nikolka had made with his knees as he had jumped down from the window ledge in despair. There was a wild look in his eyes. "It can't be!" cried Lariusik, clasping his hands together. "Pure witchcraft!" Nikolka rushed out of the room, through the library, through the kitchen and past the horrified Anyuta, who shouted, "Nikol, Nikol, where are you going without a hat?" "Oh Lord, don't say something else has happened?" Then he was out of the porch and into the yard. Crossing herself, Anyuta shut the door in the porch, then ran back into the kitchen and pressed her face to the window, but Nikolka was already out of sight. He turned sharp left, ran to the corner of the house and stopped in front of the snowdrift blocking the way into the gap between the houses. The snowdrift was completely untouched. "I don't understand," Nikolka muttered in despair, and bravely plunged into the drift. He felt he was suffocating. For a long time he waited, almost swam in snow, snorting, until he had finally broken through the barrier and cleared the snow away from the space between the two walls. He looked up and saw, far above, where the light fell from the fateful window of his room, that there was the row of black spikes and their broad, sharp-pointed shadows, but no sign of the tin box. In a last hope that maybe the cord had broken, Nikolka fell on his knees and fumbled around among the rubble of broken bricks. No box. At this point Nikolka suddenly had an idea. "Aha!" he shouted, and crawled forward to the fence which closed off the gap to the street. Reaching the fence, he prodded it, several planks fell away and he found himself looking through a large hole onto the dark street. It was obvious what had happened. The men had ripped away the planks leading into the gap, had climbed in and, of course, they had tried to get into Vasilis's apartment by way of his cellar, but the window was barred. White and silent, Nikolka went back into the kitchen. "Lord, you're filthy, let me clean you up," cried Anyuta. "Leave me alone, for God's sake," replied Nikolka and passed on into the apartment, wiping his frozen hands on his trousers. "Larian, you may punch me on the jaw," he said to Lariusik, who blinked, then stared and said, Why, Nikolashka? There's no need for despair. He began timidly to brush the snow from Nikolka's back with his hands. Apart from the fact that if Alyosha recovers, which pray God he does, he will never forgive me, Nikolka went on, it means I've lost the colt that belonged to Colonel Nai Turs. I'd rather have been killed myself. It's God's punishment on me for sneering at Vasilisa. I feel bad enough about Vasilisa as it is, but it's far worse for me now because those were the guns they used to rob him. Although anyone could rob him without a gun at all, he's so feeble. What a man! God, it's a terrible business. Come on, Larian, get some paper and we'll mend the window. Hash. That night Nikolka, Myshlavsky and Lariusik crawled into the gap with axe, hammer and nails to mend the fence. Nikolka himself frenziedly drove in the long, thick nails so far that their points stuck out on the far side. Later still they went out with candles onto the veranda, from where they climbed through the cold storeroom into the attic. There, above the apartment, they clambered everywhere, squeezing between the hot water pipes and trunks full of clothes, until they had cut a listening hole in the ceiling. When he heard about the expedition to the attic, Vasilisa showed the liveliest interest and joined them in crawling around among the beams, thoroughly approving of everything that Myshlavsky was doing. What a pity you didn't warn us somehow. You should have sent Wanda Mikhailovna up to us by the back door, said Nikolka, wax dripping from his candle. That wouldn't have done much good, Myshlavsky objected. By the time they were in the apartment the game was up. You don't believe they wouldn't have put up a fight, do you? Of course they would, and how? You'd have had a bullet in your belly before there was time to reach us. And that would have been that. No, your best bet was never to have let them in by the front door at all. But they threatened to shoot through the door, Viktor Viktorovich, said Vasilisa pathetically. They would never have done that, Myshlavsky replied as he banged away with the hammer. Not a chance of it. That would have brought the whole street down on their heads. Later still that night Karas found himself luxuriating like Louis XIV in the Lasovics' apartment. This was preceded by the following conversation. Oh no, they won't come back again tonight, said Myshlavsky. No, 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 Wanda and Vasilisa replied in chorus on the staircase. Please, we beg you or Fyodor Nikolaevich to come down and spend the rest of the night with us, please. It won't be any trouble to you. Wanda Mikhailovna will make tea for you, and we'll make you up a comfortable bed. Please come tonight, and tomorrow too. We must have another man in the apartment. Otherwise I won't sleep a wink, added Wanda, wrapping herself in an Angora shawl. And there's a drop or two of brandy in the house to keep the cold out, said Vasilisa in an unexpectedly devil-may-care voice. Go on, Karas, said Myshlavsky,